We are multiplying roots today, and this is our second time doing this. Let's get into this. We're going to find that it's going to be a little more complicated than the first one was, but I don't think it's too hard. What we're going to do here is we're going to start by distributing. So now we're going to take this 3. So just like if we had 3 times x minus 2, we can distribute that 3 all the way through there. Well, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to distribute a 3 through, and we're going to have a root in there. So I'm sending the 3 to the 5, I get 15. I send the 3 to the square root of 2. Now remember, it can only multiply with what's out front, a number with a number, and so there's a 1 there. So 3 times 1 is 3, and we get the square root of 2. Now on b here, we're multiplying through a root, so it can only multiply with a root, and there isn't one there on the first one, so it's just going to become 4 square root of 2. Now when we send it to the second, we can multiply what's inside the house can be multiplied together, so we get square root of 20. Now this can be simplified, which we've seen in our other videos, and we get down to this. Now we would want to check to see if these are like terms. Remember, the root works like a variable. This is 4 square roots of 2 and 2 square roots of 5. Those cannot be combined. Okay, let me do one for you here. So I'm sending the 2 through. It goes to 3, makes it 6. 2 square root of 5. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here on b, but the radical 3, square root of 3, can't combine. He's just going to tag on the end there. And then we're going to do 3 times the square root of 18, which I don't know off the top of my head. 54, I believe. Okay, so I get minus square root of 54, but now we can break this down like we've been doing. Well, I have an idea what it is, but I'm going to okay, so I can bring a 3 out of there. Left with a 6 inside. Now these are not the same thing, so they can't be combined. I've got square roots of 3 and square roots of 6. Okay, you can always pause the video if you want to try, but this is the same thing. 6 goes to 2 and gets 12. 6 goes to the square root of 6. They can't combine. It becomes just 6 square root of 6. Now here on b, I can send the square root of 7 times 1. It would be like 1 square root of 7, but that doesn't change anything. So I'm just going to say the square root of 7. Now we're going to multiply what's inside the house can be multiplied. I believe that's 98. All right, now we got to simplify this if it can be done. So I'm going to break it down over here. Now I've got a pair of 7s, so I can bring a 7 out. Leaves me a 2 on the inside. Now those are not like terms, so they can't be combined. Okay, more of the same. I don't remember what they've done with this, if anything different happens. Oh yeah, so this is why they're doing this. So we saw this in the last video. Square root of 5 times another square root of 5 is just 5. That's all they're doing here. Now they get this, but we like to put, especially when we get to the next chapter, we're going to see this quite a bit. We like to put the number in front and then the root here back, anything with a root in the back. Okay, we do the same here for the part B. We send the square root of 6 through. This is exactly what we've seen. We're just each of these need to be simplified, but here's what's new about this one. We simplify them, and we do have like terms. I have square roots of 3 and square roots of 3. I can put those together. Get 8 square root of 3. Okay, a couple more of these. Square root of 6 times 1 is just square root of 6. Square root of 6 times itself is 6, so can you see what will happen there? Only the square roots will multiply, but that makes us 6. So I'm going to get 18 plus the square root of 6. I just moved it to the front because that's how we like to write it. Okay, I'm sending through that square root of 12. Now I'm actually going to skip a step here. I don't want to multiply those through, but I know that I'm going to have to break it down in just a second anyway. So I'm going to turn each of those numbers into their parts. Okay, do you see what I've done here? So we're supposed to multiply the square root of 12 times the square root of 24, but after we do that, we're going to simplify anyway. So whatever that new number is, I've broken down all the pieces. It's made up of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, if I did that right. Okay, we partner these up, and we can pull out a 2, another 2, and a 3, so 4. We can pull out 12. Has the square root of 2 on the inside. Now this root of the front, we know the square root of 36 is just 6. Okay, more of the same. Got 2 square root of 8 minus 5. Now a square root times, so he's going here. Square root times itself is just going to be that number. So that's going to be, now this is minus 40, so it's like this. Now subtraction and negatives don't make any difference in algebra. They do the same thing. So I could write it like this. I wouldn't count this wrong, but that's the way we'll do it as we move forward. Okay, so sending this through, we can multiply the square roots. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did a minute ago. I know that I'm multiplying 42 times 14, but if I multiply them, I'm just going to be taking them back apart again, so I'm going to not do that. Okay, so what's made in here is made up of a couple of 2's, a 3, and a couple 7's. So I can partner those up. And I can bring out a 7 and a 2, so I get 14 square root of 3. Okay. Yeah, I thought this was going to match up, but it does not. Yeah, I was hoping it would match, but it doesn't. So I can bring out a 2 over here, and I'm left with a 7 on the inside. And there we go. Now these are not like terms. Radical 7, radical 3, they cannot combine. They're not the same term. Okay, now we're going to do some old school foiling. Same idea. If I was multiplying these, I could multiply through, I'd go there to there, there to there, and then I'd go this guy here and this guy there, and then combine any like terms. You remember that? It's the same. We're following all the same ideas. So maybe they'll show that. Well, they didn't, but I'm going to go here to here, I make an 8. Go there to there, I get this. Here to here, and there to there. All right, let's combine our like terms. So the numbers can obviously go together, make a 5. These go together. They're the same kind of thing, and I have 2 square roots of 3. I had minus 2 and plus 4. Okay, we're going to FOIL this. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times negative square root of 6 doesn't change anything. Now I'm sending him through to both of these guys. And now square root of 6 times minus square root of 6 is just negative 6. Okay, combine like terms. You see I get negative 3. The numbers can go together. And this is like a negative 1 square root of 6. So I'm going to have 2 square root of 6. Okay, love it if you'd pause the video, try it yourself. But I'm going to multiply. What have I done here? Him times him and him times him. I get 8 plus 4 square root of 10. Now I'm going to go here and there. So a square root of 10 times the square root of 10 is just negative 10, because the minus is coming along. Square root of 10 times, so it's like minus square root of 10 and plus square root of 10 makes negative 10. Combining my like terms, 8 and negative 10 makes negative 2. This makes 2 square roots of 10. Okay, let's distribute this one. I don't know, just harder. I don't know what else there is new about it. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times negative 2. Yeah, nothing is new. It's the same thing. He then goes there and there. Yeah, just that we have numbers on the outside as well. Okay, so we'll try this. We'll go here to here. We'll get 18. Here to there, I get 24 square roots of 7. There to there, I get negative 9 square root of 7. There to there, I get negative 12. Now, negative 12 times 7. So the square roots times each other will just make us 7. Okay, so we've got some cleaning up to do here. It's 12 times 7, 84. So I'm going to put these together, but I'm going to do an extra step here. So okay, so I just tidied that up. Okay, I've got 18 minus 84. Trying to do that in my head. I'm nervous I'm going to mess it up. I think we'd have 66. Let me double check. Yeah. So 66 would be a negative 66. Okay, more of the same here. Let's get some extra practice in. 2 goes to the 4, I get 8. He's going to go here and get negative 12 square root of 11. He's going to go there. Now each of them owns the minus, so it's negative 3 and negative square root of 11. That's going to make plus 3, and the square roots will multiply and make an 11. So I've got 8. Now these are like terms, so I've got in there, each hold that sign in front of them. Negative 2, negative 4, and 12 is negative 14 square root of 11. This is 33. So 41 minus 14 square root of 11. Okay, I don't know if anything new is really happening here. It's just more of the same over and over again. So just foiling through, I get this, combining my like terms. Remember, that's like there's a 1 there. So put that together. Okay, so getting more complicated, but that's, oh, I know why we're doing this. Okay, let me foil it through and then I'll show you what's happening. Oh no, it's not quite what I thought. Never mind, that's coming, I'm sure. So we're going to do 5, and then this is times a 3. It's going to go there, and I get 10 square root of 21. Now he's going through, I get, now he owns that sign in front of him, so it's negative square root of 21. He goes there, and I get negative 2 times 7 because the square roots multiply. Okay, so I got 15 here. Remember, it's like there's a 1 there, so this is 9 square root of 21. And this is minus 14. Now I got more to combine. I can just put the numbers together, and I get that. Okay, let me work some more here. Send that through. I'm going to get 2 times 6. Now I'll send this guy through. Okay, so I got 12 there. Now I don't know if this will actually, I think we can break these down, but before I do, it's like there's a 1 there, so I've got minus 5 square root of 48. Okay, I'm going to just tidy all this up, and then I'm going to check to see, I believe that this can break down, so that would be 4, yeah, it certainly can. 4 times 12, and that's 4 times 3. Okay, so I can bring out a 4 out of this. Am I right? 4 times 12. Yeah, I can bring a 4 out of this. So I've got negative 12 minus 20 square root of 3. Okay, we've got some variables introduced here. It's going to be the same idea. We're still foiling through just like we did. Now, these are the same kind of term, so they can be put together. And I get this. I got 10 square roots of x. Now, these are not like terms, so he cannot combine, and this is the best I can do. Remember, he owns the sign. Now, when I multiply m's, I get m squared. So it was a negative 5. The m's become m squared. Okay, I'm going to put these together. I get 8 square root of m. And then this, as I can bring out an m, I get negative 15m. Okay, now these are not like terms, so that's the best I can do. Okay, let's do some more here. Same thing, so you can skip this if you don't feel like you need to see it, but I'm going to do them in case you do. Okay, so let's combine. Oh, actually, yeah, combine like terms, and this needs to be tidied up. So I've got negative 50 square roots of n plus 3, so I've got, now here, I've got the square root of n squared, so that allows me to bring out, and then, oh yeah, I hadn't been doing it like that, but that's the same thing. I multiply inside there, you get n squared, you can bring out an n. Now, that's finished, nothing combines, and we're done. Okay, now I think the rest of this section, let me check here real quick to see if I'm right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the rest of this section is all going to deal with just special ones that can happen. Now, we've seen these exact same things if I had something like this. So all the patterns will always be the same. So if we had something like this, do you remember that what this makes? If you FOIL this out every time, you get a square at the front and a square at the back, and then you wind up getting 2 of the middle term. Do you remember this? It's just that it always makes that every single time. So if you FOIL this through, you get x squared, you get 3x when you FOIL that. So you always wind up with 2 of the middle, and then you square the last term. Nothing changes here. Let's see how they've done it. Yeah, they're showing it in a kind of a weird way, but if you FOIL this out, you get the square of the first one. The square of the back would be 3. And then if you multiply these together, you get 2 square root of 3. Well, you get 2 of them. So another 2 square root of 3 would be like multiplying this by 2, and we'd get 4 square root of 3. Combine like terms. Now, it works the same for this one. So it's the same thing times itself. So we're going to square the first one, get 16. We're going to square the back. Now, that's a little more complicated. It'd be like 2 square root of 5 times another 2 square root of 5. So that's 4 square root of 25. Do you see how this is going to turn into 20? Does that make sense? Okay, now the middle becomes these two multiplied. It would be negative 8 square root of 5. And now you double it. It's a negative 16 square root of 5. Okay, now here's the punchline. This is true that someone has just noticed these patterns happen over and over. But if you don't understand the pattern, like you're not seeing what I'm saying, just FOIL it out. You're going to get the same thing. You don't need to memorize this. If you see it, it's faster, but you're doing this. Isn't anything times itself just this? So you can just FOIL it like we were doing, and you'll get there as well. I'll do one each way. So let's do the first one. Do you see? We could just do this exactly like we've been doing. FOIL that through, we'd get 100 plus 10 square root of 2 plus 10 square root of 2. Now this times itself is just 2. Now we combine this, we get 102. And then look what happened here. What happened is we get 2 of the same thing, so we're going to wind up with 20 square roots of 2. Somebody realized that and just didn't want to keep foiling it, but it's fine either way. You'll get there either way. Now if we look at B here, I'm going to do it the other way where I just square the first one. If I square the back, I'm going to get 9 square root of 36. I'll tidy that up in a minute. Now multiply these together and I get 3 square root of 6. Now double that because you always get 2 of that same middle, and I would get 6 square root of 6. Okay, now we're almost there, but this has a square root. We can tidy that up. This is 6, so we can multiply that out here. It's got to be multiplied by the 9. Now, combine any like terms. The numbers can go together. Okay, here's some more here. I'm going to do the shorter method, but you can always FOIL it if you're trying it yourself. Square in the front one, square in the back. Okay. And it always makes a positive because you're squaring it times itself. Now the middle here would be 6 square root of 5. We want 2 of them. So I'm going to make that, the sign matters. It'd be negative 6 square root of 5, so negative 12 square root of 5. Combine any like terms, I get 41 minus 12 square root of 5. Okay, on the back end again, you could just FOIL these, but it's the square of the front. The square of the back would be 4 times 100. For the sake of time, I'm going to finish that. So I've just squared this back one. Multiplying all that by itself gets this. The square root of 100 is 10, so this is going to be 40 back here. Now multiply those two together, and I'd have negative 18 square root of 10. But it always makes 2 of those, so I'm going to double it. Get negative 36 square root of 10. Okay, combine like this back one, because the way you're doing this is always going to be a positive. So 121 minus 36 square root of 10. Okay, I know I keep saying this over and over again, but if you're not following the shortcut approach, that's fine. You don't need to. You could simply just FOIL it out. All right, this is the same shortcut, just with variables this time. So we've squared the front, we squared the back, and we got 2. So the middle, these together make 3 square root of x. We want 2 of those, and that's how we got this. Now these don't combine, there's no like terms. Okay, I'm going to do the shortcut. You could do the long way and it would get you there. Square the front, square the back. Now these times each other make 10 square root of m. I want 2 of those. Get 20 square root of m. Now these do not combine, there's no like terms there. Okay, once again, square the front, square the back, I get 16n. Multiply them together, I get negative 12 square root of n, and we want 2 of those, so negative 24 square root of n. All right, now this is this pattern. Do you remember what would happen if we had opposite signs? What winds up happening is you're going to wind up with the square of the first minus the square of the back every single time. Now once again, you could FOIL these, but the middle is always going to drop out because we have the same binomials here with opposite signs. So look what happens. It's just going to wind up being the square of the front is 4 squared. The square of the back with a negative in between is just 2. But this time that combines and we get 14. So opposite signs, it's the exact same binomial. So I'm just going to square the front. I'm going to put a negative sign, and I'm going to square the back, and I would get 3 equals 1. Now if you want to see this, let me FOIL it just to prove it to you. That's 4. That's 2 square roots of 3. It's minus 2 square roots of 3. And that's minus 3. So those are opposites. They'll go, and you get 1. Again, someone just noticed the pattern, so they didn't want to do the extra foiling. But if I square the front, I get 1. Give a minus sign, square the back, I get 5. That's negative 4. Okay, same thing, just more complicated. We're going to square the front, we would get 25. Square the back, and you'd get 4 times 3. That's the negative 12 they're getting there, so it's always a minus. Simplify that is how they got the 13. So I'm going to square the front. I'm going to square the back, which would be, so we always put a minus sign. That's part of the pattern. But I square the back, I'd get negative 4 square root of 25. I shouldn't have done it that way, but it's the same as this. You could have seen that square root of 5 times itself is 5. So I've got 9 minus 20. It's negative 11. Okay, same thing. Square in the front, I get 16. Square in the back, I get negative 25. Remember, always a minus. Negative 25 times 7. Let's see, 150, I believe that would be minus 175. So what do we get here? Negative 159. Okay, now that's a lot of the same thing over and over again. You don't need to memorize all those rules. It's simply just FOIL them all the time. Outsides multiply, inside of square roots multiply, and then just tidy anything up that's a like term.